Okay, so today we're doing a comprehensive breakdown of the entire electric motorcycle space. And this market is evolving at a breakneck speed. I can't wait to see what it's going to look like in 5 years, because half the bikes on this list aren't even for sale quite yet. But by the end of this video, you're going to have a good understanding of the state of the market in late 2022. Okay, so here's my list of electric motorcycles so far in 2022. And let's just run through this. Let's begin the list with the OG in the space, the Sondors metacycle. Comes in at a modest $6,500, top speed 80 miles an hour with a max range of 80 miles. The battery is impressive at 4 kilowatt hours of capacity. The motor has a peak power of 14.5 kilowatts, but the bike is heavy, 300 pounds. Next up on the list is the Super 73 CX-1, and this bike isn't for sale quite yet. I think holiday season 2023 is when it actually ships, and we don't have an official price tag quite yet. But if I had to guess after doing all this research, to be competitive in this space, it needs to be less than $10,000. They're also claiming that the top speed is 75 miles per hour and the max city range is up to 100 miles. Now, they didn't give us an official battery capacity yet, but in order to achieve those claims of 100 miles in the city, it needs to be at least 4 to 5 kilowatt hours in capacity. And doing the same thing with the motor, this has to be around 10 kilowatts, and the weight is going to be roughly 250 pounds for this bike. Okay, moving on, the next one here is Land Moto. This is based out of Ohio, and it's a very fascinating bike. I'm not sure if I like it yet, but it's unique, it's interesting. So this has a base price of $7,800 with a top speed around 65 miles per hour and a max range of just 40 miles. And that's because the battery capacity in this base model is just 1.8 kilowatt hours. Now, this can be upgraded. In fact, the modular battery setup of this bike is one of its main unique selling points. So you can actually buy a second battery, slide it in, and double your capacity. But it's going to cost you a lot more than $7,800 at that point. The motor has a peak power of 12 kilowatts, and it's extremely lightweight. The bike in its base configuration is 150 pounds. Okay, that brings us to the ryvid Anthem. This is also $7,800, a similar top speed at 75 miles per hour and a range of 75 miles. Although the battery here is 4.3 kilowatt hours, pretty large battery. They didn't give us the motor power, but again, working backwards based off of the top speed and the rest of the market, it has to be around 12 kilowatts. And this bike is heavy, 240 pounds. Next, I'm showing you guys the brand new Sur-Ron Ultra. We do not yet have an official price tag, but based off of the specs, the rest of the market, I'm gonna guess it's around $8,000. The top speed is 56 miles per hour and the maximum range is 87 miles. The battery comes in at 4 kilowatt hours, motor has a peak power of 12.5 kilowatts, and the entire package is 187 pounds. Now, the closest competitor to that Sur-Ron Ultra is the KTM EXC. This comes in at just over $11,000, a top speed of 50 miles per hour, a max range of roughly 50 miles, a similar battery capacity at 3.9 kilowatt hours, a stronger motor at 18 kilowatts, but the thing weighs significantly more at 245 pounds. Okay, and finally that leaves us with the Zero FXE. This is $13,000, but it has the fastest top speed at 85 miles per hour and a range of 100 miles. Both the power and the motor are the biggest on the list, so the battery is 7.2 kilowatt hours in capacity, and the motor has a peak power of 34 kilowatts, but that does negatively affect the weight, coming in at just shy of 300 pounds. Okay, so that's the rundown of all these bikes. And I think now I'm just going to go ahead and put them on this ranking chart. Okay, behold, this is my official ranking of all these electric motorcycles. I'm going to go ahead and say that the Sur-Ron Ultra is the absolute best all-around value bike on this list, if the price tag is indeed around $8,000. Now, why do I say this? Well, the bike is lightweight. I think most people would prefer a light bike over a heavy bike. And even though it's light, the battery is still one of the biggest on this list at 4 kilowatt hours. Also, that battery is easily removable. That's why there's a blue check next to the battery info. The motor has a solid power range of 12.5 kilowatts. The top speed, the range, it's all pretty good. Now in this A row, we have the ryvid Anthem, the Super 73 CX1, the Sondors Metacycle, and the OG Sur-Ron Light B. And to me, all of these bikes are extremely solid overall packages. The ryvid has very similar specs to the Sur-Ron Ultra. The battery is actually a little bit bigger at 4.3 kilowatt hours, but it's a heavy bike, 240 pounds. And because of that, the Ultra actually has slightly better range. The Super 73 CX1, if it is indeed around $8,000 to $10,000, then 100 miles of range, a speed of 75 miles per hour, that's pretty solid. The Metacycle is compelling because it's only $6,500. The specs are pretty solid. The only thing holding it back is it's heavy, 300 pounds, and it uses a hub motor, so the performance is going to be a little bit worse than all these other bikes. Okay, now below this we have the B row, and here I have two bikes, the Land Moto and the Zero FX. And let me explain my logic here. So I'm actually a big fan of the Land Moto motorcycle, the whole modular design, it's extremely lightweight, but for $7,800, it only has a 1.8 kilowatt hour battery capacity. For the same price, the ryvid Anthem has a 4.3 kilowatt hour battery capacity. And for the Zero FXE, the reason why this is one tier lower is because yes, it does have the best specs, the biggest battery, strongest motor, but it's expensive, 13,000 bucks, heavy at 300 pounds, and the range and the top speed really isn't that much better than these other bikes. But this is by no means definitive. Leave a comment, let me know which one of these bikes is your favorite and least favorite. This whole ranking system heavily depends on what you value in a bike. So for example, if a hot swappable battery is an absolute necessity for you, then both the Super 73 and the Sondors Metacycle are going to go to the bottom of the list because they are the only two bikes here that do not offer a removable battery. Also, if you prefer having super lightweight bikes, then the Land Moto might be promoted up here. If you value having a big motor and battery, then you might put the Zero kind of in this area. So the whole thing is highly subjective. That's just my take on it. Let us know what you think. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of YouTube stuff, and I'll see you guys